This is LA Lloyd's Rock 30.
Kenny, we've crossed paths over the years, but never sat down and did an interview, man. So appreciate you being on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So obviously, we're going to talk a lot about Ledbetter Heights, the 30th anniversary sessions that was released May 8th, just a couple of weeks ago. And back when that album first came out, man, the thing that I don't know if you got overwhelmed hearing this. It's like, oh, he's so young, this guitar prodigy, or were you and your dad and everyone that was hearing all this response going like, bring it on, man?
Yeah, well, it was kind of this thing, I didn't really think much of it. Honestly, I just love playing guitar. I was playing music for myself. I really enjoyed playing the guitar as an instrument. And then people were like freaking out about it, and I was just like, I never quite understood it. It just felt very normal to me. It's like, I just like playing guitar and this is what I like to do. But yes, I mean, I signed my record deal when I was 16 years old. I wrote and recorded this album when I was 17 and came out right after I graduated high school and turned 18 years old. But yes, there was a lot made of my age and, child prodigy and, whiz kid and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, that's all good. Like record companies and marketing people can use that to hype things up. But at the end of the day, if the talent isn't there to back it up, then it's not really going to matter and it's not going to last. But the fact that we're here 30 years later and we've recorded a new version of this record, we're playing all these songs from this album live in concert for the first time, and our fans are showing up and packing the houses and singing along with these songs. Obviously the talent was there, and our fan base has been with us for over 3 decades, and so it's a great anniversary that we're celebrating here.
Indeed, man. And that album is obviously what introduced your band and you yourself to the world. And looking back on some of those songs and while you're reflecting on stage, do any of these songs feel a little bit different now when you're performing them? Obviously you got a lot of life in between the then and now, but do you feel like you've kind of like you almost in a time machine when you're performing these songs live again?
Well, yeah, because some of these songs we haven't played in like 29 years, right?
Wow.
Yeah, like there's a handful of these songs that have been in our regular rotation over the past 30 years for the shows, in and out of the set list, but like most of these songs in this record we have not played in a really long time. So yeah, it's quite the experience revisiting all this material and playing it now, especially those songs after such a long time. And it's not that they hit different, but my approach is to them is different. My playing, and especially for the ones that we have been playing, those songs have evolved over time. My solos have evolved. Um, dynamically, the way we perform them, that has evolved. So it's interesting, and it's really interesting if you get the new version of the record and you listen to, the 30th anniversary and compare it to the original and compare. It's like, here's the 17-year-old version of this artist, and now here's the same artist 30 years later with all this experience, and compare the differences and hear how things have changed.
Well, the album immediately started taking off. I mean, you spent 10 weeks at number one on the blues chart. And as you said, everyone's going like young guitar prodigy, this and that, man. But at what point did you realize like, okay, we got some staying power here? And I feel like your dad was probably going like, damn, dude, I was hoping we were going to have some success, but this is even exceeding my expectations.
Well, I think it exceeded a lot of people's expectations because nothing in blues or with the blues label on it. Even though my music is blues based, but has a lot more of a rock vibe to it in some instances. But back then, nothing of the blues world had really broken into the mainstream since Stevie Ray Vaughan had passed away.
Right.
So I think nobody really knew what to expect. And, I wasn't singing. I sang one song on the first record. I didn't really sing lead vocals in my own band on a regular basis till my fourth album. So like the guy doesn't sing. He's a teenager. He's doing blues-based music. Nobody's come along since SRV. I don't think anybody knew what to expect. And then, the first single went to number 5 on the rock charts. The album, like you said, spent weeks at number 1 on the blues charts. The album went gold really quick. It went on to go over 1 million copies. It was certified platinum. And then, but really, like, it was after the success of the second record, Trouble Is, that's when I felt like, okay, we're going to be here for a minute for sure. Because, they were like, how can you, are you nervous about outperforming, like doing better than your first album, the sophomore slump? And I was like, what is that? It's like, well, it's when you have a successful first album and then the second one just flops. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know I should be worried about that. And then the second one did better than the first one.
Yeah, indeed, man. And you were going to high school at the same time recording in Memphis. I mean, look, man, that's a lot for anybody to take on juggling both things like that. So, how did you keep your head together, man, and stay in it, both of them, and obviously completed them both?
Well, I just, it was a requirement from my parents that I had to graduate high school. So there was like no negotiating that. So I knew that if I wanted to do this, I had to do that.
Got
So I applied myself, and I had this opportunity that I knew was unusual, to be as young as I was and from my hometown. It's not every day that people get offered record deals with major record labels. And so, and this is what I wanted to do. So I just had to I had to suit up and show up and take care of business.
Yeah, and something that was really cool about revisiting this album is you used your original rig, man. So I'm just curious, when everything was put together and the engineers were doing their thing, and maybe you did it all yourself, was it kind of like visiting an old friend when you started hearing those tones again?
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, I've been fortunate that I still have all the same equipment, that I used on my original record. And so I thought it would be cool. We're not going in the album trying to recreate the original, record note for note, and sound for sound. But I did think it would be pretty cool because I had those amps and I had those guitars to bring that stuff in the studio and use it again. So that was cool.
And when you're revisiting that album, man, and getting the lyrics fresh in your brain again, man, do the lyrics hit you a little bit differently 30 years later? Because look, man, you got 30 years of life that you've experienced between then and now.
Well, most of these songs, usually when that happens, it's like it was a real personal experience that you wrote about, and then it ends up evolving into being about something else. On this record, there's not really, there are personal experiences written into some of these songs, but like none of those have changed. I have had other albums with other songs that a song was written about one thing and then it really became about something different later on in my life, but not on this album in particular.
But as far as you've had the chance to play some of these songs and some that you mentioned you haven't done in 29 years. But is there a particular song from that album you enjoy playing more now than say when you first started maybe your first tour?
Well, I enjoy all these songs, man, but like there's yes, Riverside, which is the one song that I sang. I was always kind of like embarrassed about that because I didn't really like the sound of my voice at the time, and I let them coaxed me into doing that. And I was not ever really happy with I didn't hate it, but like I always thought it didn't quite sound right to me. And so now that I'm 30 years older and I've produced my own records for a long time, and I have a lot of experience under my belt, then I was able to record that song in the way that I always envisioned it being recorded on the new version. So I do enjoy playing that song more now than I did back then, for sure.
And you got to think about what was really happening. Being a radio guy, because I was right in the middle of it, have been for many years. But we were just coming off hair bands. Grunge was blowing the hell up, man. Did you ever feel like you were kind of maybe swimming upstream because you wanted to stay the course and do the sound and the songs you loved? Was there radio people that got behind you, or maybe, like you said, some label folks, or what was it that really just said, "Hey, man, don't follow trends, just stay and be true to who you are"?
Well, that's all I ever did. I was given permission when I signed my record deal by Irving Azoff, and he's the guy that signed me. And he was like, just go make whatever record you want to make. He was never trying to turn me into something that he wanted me to be. He always allowed me from day one to make the album and create the music that I felt inspired to make. Thankfully, that connected with an audience, but there's no guarantees. But that's a rare situation that you have the head of a record label giving you that kind of creative permission, and that's just all I've ever done. And yeah, it was totally against the grain. It was not chasing whatever the popular thing was at the time, that's for sure. But thankfully, it worked out for me.
You mentioned Stevie Ray a little bit earlier in the interview here, and just found this out yesterday, just doing a little research. You first met Stevie back in '84, a Labor Day concert. I think your dad might have even been the promoter for that. 7 years old, man, you're not thinking about your future, but was there kind of a little bit of a light bulb moment that you went, I think I want to do what he's doing up there?
Oh yeah, for sure. When I saw him play, I was already kind of toying around with the guitar. I didn't have an electric guitar, but I had these little toy acoustic guitars that my grandmother would get me,
Yeah.
and I could play like "Smoke on the Water" and stuff, And I could tell I was always drawn to the instrument. But like after I saw him play, I was like, oh my gosh, like my life changed in that concert, and I was like, I want an electric guitar and I want to learn how to play with that fire, that he's playing with. And so that's what gave me the drive and the determination to learn how to play the way I play.
And it's gotta be surreal, man. I mean, obviously, Chris Layton, from Double Trouble's been with you for, I don't know, about 20 years or so, and obviously you're very close now, but is there, a time or two where just kinda in the moment and you turn around, there's Whipper back there playing in your band, man. That's just gotta feel like, wow, this has come full circle almost.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I mean, he's been on every record I've done. He was on the first Ledbetter Heights record.
Oh, okay.
There's one album that he was not on, my fourth record, but other than that, every album, he's been in my touring band for 20 years. But yes, I mean, it's not lost on me. I mean, he's still, you know, his band is one of my all-time favorite bands, and I grew up listening to him and playing along with him, when I didn't have a band. So it was very natural when we first got together and started playing together. And yes, he's literally one of the greatest of all times to ever play his instrument.
Is there, I mean, you share the stage with so many. I mean, is there one moment that, looking back over your 30-year career that you went like, man, I just really can't believe this is happening to me?
Well, there's been a lot of those, to be honest with you. I mean, whether it's opening up like, for the Stones or the Eagles or Van Halen, or, hanging out with BB King and becoming close, dear friends with people like him. I mean, there's just been a number of incredible experiences. Yeah, and I look forward to more, to be honest with you, because I feel like, there's always a surprise around every corner. And when you least expect it, something cool pops up.
Indeed, man. And you always keep content and music coming to your fans. 23 and 24, you had Dirt on My Diamonds, Volume 1 and 2. And to close it out today, man, I understand that you might be putting out a Kenny Wayne Shepherd covers album, doing songs that we would never expect you to do. So is this true? And what can you tell us about that before we say goodbye?
Yeah, it's a rock and roll. We did a blues cover record several years back, all like traditional blues songs. And so I decided, we love to rock too. We're a kind of a blues rock band. And so I figured let's go do a rock and roll cover album, but like let's make it interesting. So like I want people to like see the lists of songs. They're gonna recognize the songs, but they're gonna go, what? I cannot imagine Kenny Wayne Shepherd or his band doing these songs. And then you listen to them and you're like, well, this is great. And so like outside the box stuff, like Billy Idol and Genesis and NXS and just like for some really off the wall kind of things. And then maybe some that might not be so crazy, but like Pink Floyd and The Who.
Right.
But still, it's like, I want people to go, what's going on here? And then you listen to it and you're like, oh yeah, these guys, they're rocking.
Well, I have to say, man, I'm such a huge NXS fan, and I still don't feel like that band. I mean, they got obviously a lot of success, but the legacy, man, I just feel like that band just needs to be higher and higher and higher. And I'm so happy that you're doing that, man. That is one that I'm really looking forward to hearing.
Yeah, thanks, man. Well, let's hope it comes out as good as I'm hoping. I mean, I like what we've done with it. It's not quite finished yet, but hopefully it'll come out really great and it'll make it on the record.
Awesome, dude. Well, thanks for spending some time with us today and co-hosting the Rock 30 Man, and best of luck on the tour. And I'm sure fans are loving this, and we'll look forward to that covers album maybe in 27, man.
Yeah, sounds good. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you, Kenny. Have a great day, man.
Thanks.